Hello, 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 and welcome to the Baker Senior Show. This is all about Medicare and you. And what does that mean? That means that Steve Baker is going to be explaining all about Medicare and what it means to us as individuals. We are all in this together. When we turn 65, we are eligible for Medicare. And a lot of us are very confused, rightly so, about what it is that we can expect from this Medicare insurance. Some of us are still working, some of us are retired, some of us are traveling around in a motorhome, some of us are still in the same town that we grew up in. So everybody's situation is a little different, and Mr. Baker wants to make sure that we understand what Medicare is for us. Welcome and thank you. Hi, Steve.
Hello,
How are you today?
I'm doing terrific.
Good. That's good.
Excited to be here.
Me too. I just love explaining all about what Medicare is because I've learned a lot just being around you. And one of the reasons why I said something about being in a motorhome is a lot of people, when they retire, like to buy a camper van or a motorhome and travel
Mhm.
around the United States. And I've asked you many times, well, how does that affect you when you're on Medicare? And you have told us that there is a difference, and you do need to know what your rights are and how Medicare will cover you. So I'm really excited for people to be watching the show and asking you questions. And just in case you didn't know, we're here every Tuesday at 8 o'clock Central, and we're live. So you can ask Steve any questions that you want. And if you're here on the replays, it's okay too. Just let us know. Now, Steve's phone number is right down below, so you can give him a call at 832-754-3292. Steve, what do you have for us today?
Well, for the longest, I've explained that there's so many people in the United States turning 65, and I think I've told you before that between 10 and 11,000 people in the United States uh, turn 65 every day. Every day. That is an incredible number of people. So it occurred to me that it pays to go back and just start from the very first and explain everything. And I'm not going into a lot of detail, but I am going to introduce you to a publication that's put out every year on an annual basis. Of course, if it's put out every year, it will be on an annual basis. So I'll just leave that annual basis alone. But they do put out a publication, and the publication is called Medicare and You. And this particular one is for the year, as you can see right here, the year 2020. So that means that for all of this year, while we're doing this publication will be in effect. But not to worry, in September of 2020, a new publication, and it's designed almost exactly like this. The only real difference that you can see right away is the date. The next one will be 2021. So this is what's called an extremely comprehensive view of Medicare, and it explains every way, and it's localized according to where you are. For example, if you happen to be in Oklahoma right now, where you live,
That's
then
where I am right now.
right. So I can get you a copy for Oklahoma, and if you live in another state, if you live in Texas, then this particular one is for Texas. But you need to be sure and get you a copy. Now, typically, when you're turning 65, about 3 or 4 months before you're 65, you will receive a copy. But if you would like one way early, let's say you're 6 months or between 6 months and a year away from turning 65, and you would really like to get up to date and be educated about Medicare, then you can get the current publication of Medicare and You. And when you open it up, it can be daunting. It really can be, because it's just, as I say, since it's comprehensive, and like Medicare is not necessarily complicated, but it needs to be broken down in sections so that you can understand where you are, and help you navigate through the process. And what I would like to do, if you would like a copy of the Medicare and You book, you could just give me a call, and I'll be able to send you a copy. That's free. There's no cost to it whatsoever, and I'll be glad to send it out to you. And in the meantime, I can ask you a few questions about your situation, and maybe clarify some stuff on the phone with you, and then you can get your copy. So I want to talk about I just want to go through the table of contents, and you can just kind of really, first off, well, what you want to know is there's a chapter in the very beginning called Get Started. So you get started in Medicare, it goes all the way through uh, your Medicare options that you need to know. You need to know the parts of Medicare. And a lot of times you'll listen to someone like me, or me on these channels, and I'll explain the difference between A and B and C and D, and we're not going to go into all of that. But when you finish, you're like, okay, I'm still confused. So if you had this guide, you can kind of follow along, and it'll make it much clearer for you. So everyone who gets involved, and basically, if you're if you're one of those 10 or 11,000 turning 65 in the next let's say year or so, then you can get ahead of the game and start reading about it, so that when the time comes, you can you're at least ready to make a few of the decisions that need to be made. And there are lots of things I've talked to you about it a lot. The things that people need to understand, and the directions. If you're turning 65, then then you probably need to have already met with someone, or talked with someone, or at least called someone like me or whatever, and got the skeleton part of Medicare, so that you can kind of orient yourself about where you are. A lot of people now are working past 65, and they just continue to work. So if you're in that situation and you say, well, I don't want to take Medicare yet, I can talk to you, and show you and tell you the exact steps to take, so that down the road you'll be in a good situation to finally get in onto Medicare. Eventually, you're going to need to be part of Medicare one way or the other. So what we do is that we explain, or I do at least, I explain Medicare, and kind of orient you about your particular situation. If you're in that situation, okay. And let's say you're 66 or 67, you don't know anything about it. You've kind of ignored it, and now you're ready to take advantage of it. And I could tell you the kind of situation that you're in. It's a little complicated, but this book basically will apply to just about everybody in their situation, Medicare and You. So it talks about where you are. It even goes into detail about the two kinds, either the traditional Medicare or the Medicare Advantage. And in the very back of it, it's localized, so that you can say, for example, if you live in Oklahoma, or if you live in Arkansas, or wherever you live in the United States, it's localized for you, and it'll tell you the various plans that are available to you in your area, in your zip code area mostly. So it's localized, so that you understand what's available for you. And I'm warning you, it will be daunting. You will say, oh my, how how do I ever weed through all of this? And you're going to have to seek some help somewhere, somehow, from somebody about to explain to you about where you are. but at least Medicare and You will get you started.
Well, I think,
So,
Steve, if you know the general concept of Medicare, it does seem overwhelming. But what I like about working with someone like you is that you can see the big picture and then you can see their situation. Just like I
mhm,
said at the beginning of the show, we're all different. Yes, we all live in the United States and we all have basically the same concept of healthcare, but we're so different in that we have pre-existing, conditions. We have different places where we live. We may be traveling. We may be still working. We may, Social Security is involved. You're, there's so many different factors about personal information that we need someone like you who knows everything about Medicare and can steer us in the direction. So, even with that book, we're going to still need to talk to you about our particular situation. And then you
mhm.
could let us know in the book where we should look for more information about what it is that you're saying that we need.
Right, right.
Now, don't you, when you meet with somebody, either by the phone or on Zoom or sometimes in person, if that's allowed, don't you give them choices? Don't
Yes,
don't they have choices? Okay.
yes.
So, but you're going to say, look, if I were you, this is the choice I would make, but it's
Hmm.
up to you.
Right. Yeah, right. Well, one of the things, when you talk with someone in my age group, I've been on Medicare for several years myself, and so has my wife. So I'm able to explain situations. I've got hundreds of clients that I've dealt with, and I can pick out one or two in their situation, and I can say I had a lady kind of like you are, and several years back, and she's still with me, and she's one of my clients presently, and explain her situation, and it sounds to me like you're more or less in her situation, and then I can tell you what I did for her. So it works very well that way because I've got a wide array of experience with people, plus my own situation. So I've had some illnesses in the past that where I've used Medicare. So it's I can explain, pull out my cards and lay them on the table and say, this is what I did. This is how it worked, and it's working very, very well for me. And I can go through the process with them because I've
Steve,
experienced it firsthand.
I have a question about something that happened to me.
Hmm.
Remember about 2 months ago, I got a copy, I got a postcard in the mail, and
Right.
it said it was very important Medicare changes. Please put your phone number in here and mail it back to them or call them.
Uh-huh.
If they were to have if I was to have been naive enough to actually give them my phone number, am I obligated to them now?
No, no, you are not. No, you are not. That is a marketing situation. And what they want is they want your information way ahead of time so that they can store it in their computers, and then at the proper time they can give you a call. And then so your phone will start ringing and ringing and ringing. And this is one of the things I've talked about a lot is how many times your phone starts ringing, about anywhere from 6 months to sometimes even as much as a year out from you turning 65. And a lot of things go through your head whenever you start talking to somebody, and you don't know them, they don't know you. uh, but a lot of people, and you can meet a lot of people on the line online. And I've talked many times, and I don't mind doing it, about my good friend Chris Westfall. He's got good presence on the line, has a lot of good information. And a lot of people, just they're kind of frozen. They don't really know. And my advice to anyone is try to get someone local, preferably, of course, you can give me a call, and if I can't help you, which in a few, very, very few situations, if I can't help you, I can explain to you where you can get the help that you need. And I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was telling me that he's turning 65, and he said, well, my wife is not turning 65 until, for 2 years, for, more 2 years. So I think what I'll do is I'll just wait. And when she turns 65, then we'll both join. No, no,
Doesn't
no.
work that way, does it?
It does. It compounds everything tremendously. So you need to just join one at a time. And of course, uh, it's when you turn 65, you're in a situation, and I can explain to you how long this will last, but you're in an open enrollment situation, what we call open enrollment. So your health really doesn't come into being into a part of as part of the picture. So you are in open enrollment, and I can tell you how long you're going to be in open enrollment and when you absolutely have to finally make a decision without having to answer any health questions. So that's a very good place to be. And I'm not going to go into it right now, but it's a place where you're safe and you can make a really, really good decision. You can go one of two ways depending on your circumstances, and then over the long term, you will be happy.
And you can guarantee that we're going to be happy.
Well, I can't guarantee I can't guarantee anything,
Uh-huh. There you
but it
go.
yeah, but at least you'll have a clear picture.
Okay. What is the most common question that people ask you when they're trying to figure out Medicare?
Well, I guess the most common question is, someone will say, I'm turning 65. Say, as we're doing this right now, the month is the end of May, but to say I'm turning 65 in August or whatever, what do I do? And that's a kind of a perfect situation, a perfect setup for me to explain what the options are and the directions. But most people just want to know, what do I do? That's it.
Yeah.
How do I go about in getting involved in Medicare?
One of the things I really appreciate about you is that even if you're on Medicare and your situation changes, that all we have to do is call you and you can give us our options. This happened to a friend of mine who was living in a home, just a typical home, living with her sister, and she needed to go into a personal care home. And her situation was changing. She didn't want to go out, couldn't go out to see the doctor anymore. She needed the doctor to come to see her. Well, guess what? The the Medicare that she was on didn't allow that. So you took a look at her situation, even though she was already on Medicare, and you were able to switch her over to a different program, I guess you
Hmm.
call it,
Hmm.
a different situation where the doctor could actually come to her and her toenails could be cut there at the home. She could get her checkups there. And I'm sure there are certain circumstances where she'd have to go out, but 9 times out of 10, the doctor could visit her and she's still covered.
Correct.
That to me is what we call healthcare peace of mind. Thank you, Steve. You really, really
Correct.
did help that family out, and I appreciate that. So, if you, even if you're not 65 or you're not turning 65 anytime soon, you may want to refer someone to Steve that you
Hmm.
know, a family member, a neighbor, someone at church, someone at work. If you know that they have any questions about Medicare, be sure and give them Steve's phone number. And that number is 832 754 3292. Steve will talk to you or take your referrals, your recommendations for someone who might need to talk to him about Medicare. And all they have to do is explain their situation. And if he doesn't know the answer, he knows where to get that information.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me for bragging on you a little bit, Steve, but you even called the doctor that we thought would be coming to the home to find out more information about her medication and about what was covered and how they were going to handle it. You are an amazing caregiver. And I know you're not personally caregiving, but you care about the people that you work with. So thank you.
Correct. I can point almost anybody in the right direction for for the coverage.
We need that.
And yes, exactly. And as we're sitting here and we're talking now, and this, you may be reviewing or you may be looking at this video much later, but as we're sitting here now, we're sitting in Texas, and we're right in the middle of what we call a pandemic. And it's called COVID-19, and everybody knows about it. And then we're in a really, really peculiar situation because we've seen nothing like this practically in the history of our country. And so we're all kind of trying to feel our way through here. And what's happening with a lot of people is that the employers are having to cut back. And by cut back, that means they've got to, because of the situation, they've got to reduce their workforce. So a lot of people are in the situation of losing their jobs, which means in most cases they will eventually lose their health coverage. And in that case, if they're over 65 and they've been working past 65, which a lot of people have been doing for years now, and they're in a situation and they're panicked, they don't really know what direction to go, then they can give me a call and I can talk them through it and indicate to them what they really need to do. And the other major area that I've opened up now is group coverage for Medicare, and I've getting involved in that in a lot and developing some clients in that arena as well. So where I can go in and work with a group and help them. Say if there are 5 of them or 10 of them, and I've been doing that in a couple of instances for several years now, but now I'm going into it full force. So I'm helping groups and educating groups about what their options are when they turn 65 and they're still working. A lot of people have, nowadays and earlier too, they've made a decision they just want to work for a while, and especially to keep their health coverage, and that may or may not be a really good situation for them. But I can ask a few questions and then clarify where they are and make some recommendations and directions, especially if they're over 65 and they're getting ready to lose their health care. So
Here's how you can help Steve and
mhm,
yourself.
mhm.
If you work in a corporation or a company of, say, how many employees, Steve?
Let's say anywhere from 20 to 5,000.
Okay.
It
So
doesn't matter.
if
So,
you work in a company with over 20 employees, talk to your HR department and let them know that Steve can come in and give a presentation or work with the HR department to make it really easy for the company to make sure that everyone is covered in the, with the right Medicare.
mhm.
Okay. Because like you said, not everybody retires at age 65. They might want to work on, or they're getting laid off and the company doesn't know what to do, and they're busy anyway. But Steve can come in and help them and take that burden off of them. So please call Steve at 832-754-3292 or give that information to your HR department so that Steve can call them and set up an appointment to talk to them and help them out.
Mhm.
Steve, I have another question for you. I heard
Yeah.
yesterday, as y'all know, I love the thought of getting a camper van or a pull along a trailer some sort and traveling around the United States as I get ready to retire. And one of the things I heard on a podcast I was listening to was the telemedicine for people who are running around and they're not staying in their state. Does Medicare cover that, or does that have anything to do with Medicare? Telemedicine.
Well, telemedicine is proper. I would call it an adjunct of Medicare. It's not Medicare, pure Medicare itself. But if someone is in the situation, or they know they're going to do it, and there's, they and their significant other have been planning for years to do just that, where you get in a motorhome and you travel around in various parts of the country, and for years and years and years, a lot of people have done that. They've called them snowbirds, of course, if they come down from the north down to the south for the, for the winter months, and then in the summer months they go back up north. But if you're traveling around a lot like that, then you definitely need one part of Medicare. I'm not going into it, but there's one part of Medicare that's designed for specifically just that, so that your Medicare will be good no matter where you are, and it works in an excellent form that way.
Well, that's good to
So,
know, because it was kind of scary when you said, you're not covered if you're not in your state, right? But that's another reason for you to talk to them about their particular situation. And it
right.
can change quickly. So keep Steve's number handy. Put it on your refrigerator. If you call Steve, he can send you out some information, and you can keep that information around until it's time for you to really get serious about it. So call him at 832-754-3292, and you can get a free copy of the Medicare and You book and keep it handy for when you have a question. And then you'll have Steve's information as well.
Correct.
Is there anything else you need to talk to us about today, Steve, before we end the show?
I think that's it for today.
Okay. Well, you know what to do. Be sure and either send Steve a recommendation, a referral. Make sure that your company, if you're working, knows all about Steve. And the HR department is the people. They are the people that need to talk with Steve. And if you yourself want a free copy of the Medicare and You book, he will send it out to you right away. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you again next week. Bye for now.
Bye.